Welcome to the Oh So Spurs podcast. We have Deej, Johnny, and Joe just on the way, but they weren't quite able to get to their computers as quickly as I was because I think they were in various pubs and things like that. But what a win, as everyone's saying in the comments. Ange out, Brennan Johnson out, Son out. They're all finished. Get them out my football club. They don't know what they're doing, apparently. But there you go. Apparently the A-licensed coach with a degree in sports science knew more than most of the people on the internet. And that was quite nice, wasn't it? Because he absolutely showed them up and I absolutely loved it. Sorry, I shouldn't take sides on that, but I did absolutely love every second of that because I thought Spurs did completely, well, Ange Postecoglou and that squad completely showed up. Everyone, the squad was still fighting for Postecoglou, clearly. He's got their full and absolute backing. And as Ange's been saying all season, when I don't have players on the bench, I can't change the game. It's not me being one-dimensional. How can you not see this? As soon as we get players back, the whole dynamic changes in games. We're finding subs that make a difference, proactive changes and rotation. It's been brilliant. And here's Joe. How are you, Joe?
Good morning. Good evening.
Good afternoon. Yeah, good evening, I'd say, Mai. So what time is it of you now? Must be very early.
4 a.m.
4 a.m.
Do you know what's good? When you set an alarm for 1:50 a.m. to get up for the 2 a.m. game, and it's worth it. Yes. There's nothing worth
and worth it was, guys. Yes, it was. Where do we start? There were some great performances all round, despite only having one. And to be fair, that is still an injury crisis-ridden Spurs. It's just less injury crisis did than previously, to the point where we can actually make proactive subs. And we had like more than one senior player on the bench, and the players could actually get 10 minutes rest at the end, which was absolutely brilliant. But guys, I don't even know where to. I start with Joe because he's got up at 4:30 in the morning to be here, Joe. So who was your
still up?
Who was your man of the match? Go on. Where do we start with that?
I was actually making notes through this game. I thought maybe I'll go prepared for this post game, see how we go. But I thought Bergvall was the best. I absolutely loved how he was just calm in the midfield. There were so many times where he received the ball and just kept it moving. There was a point in the second half where he carried basically the whole length of the field and set up Brennan with a chance. I just thought he was unbelievable. Is he now just a starter in the midfield? Is he one of our best midfielders now? Is that what do we say?
That's a good question. Do we start with that question, guys? Deej, Johnny, is Bergvall now a starting player in our 11, even when everyone's fit?
I think so. I think it's one of those things where like it's hard to it's the benefit of having a big squad, right? Like you if you have a bunch of players that are all very good, you just get to pick the ones that are on form. I think certainly now I don't think there's anybody that's kicking Bergvall out of the starting 11 when he's on form. That may change, but that's the benefit that having squad depth brings, is that if he has an off game, you can just bring in a Bentancur, a Bissouma, even like a Kulusevski, Madison, if we want to go back to what we were doing at the beginning of this season, with the two kind of more attacking midfielders. So yeah, I definitely think he's a starter when everyone's healthy right now, but we don't have to make that choice. And I think that's a testament to the squad depth we will have at some point.
And Johnny, what a day for you being an Irishman. Ireland win the tournament, didn't they?
Triple crown.
Scotland win again, I think. And you've got, you lived in Scotland, you've got a soft spot for them. Arsenal lose, Spurs win. If Carlsberg did weekends, is that yours is done, isn't it? You may as well just clock off end of Saturday and go back to work tomorrow, because you may as well end the weekend now. It can't get better, can it?
Can you hear me first of all?
Yeah, I can hear you. And you even got your mic set up properly.
I'm never sure with this the live stream. Yeah, no, I don't think England Scotland has got very far into the game yet, has it? But,
actually, no, you're right. I don't follow rugby enough to know that.
Neither do I particularly, to be honest. However, you're right. Ireland won the Triple Crown, which was nice, but by far the most. Well, them lot losing is 100% the cherry on the cake. Like that is a beautiful thing.
And a red card.
It's like I was on I don't have the benefit of having like anything other than one of those dodgy streams to see the Spurs game. So I was at least 3 minutes behind, which is why I wasn't really on WhatsApp. And then it's also why I wasn't watching. We've got the Arsenal West Ham game was live on Premier Sports in Ireland. So I switched that on in extra time or injury time. And it was a beautiful thing. It was 91 minutes. And the number of empty seats in the Emirates was incredible. And they're only 1-0 down. I mean, I know there are 10 men, but they're 1-0 down, 91 minutes. Your title is like teetering. It's and you were watching that with also the luxury of Spurs being 4-1 up at the same time. It's like you said, that's a proper Carlsberg moment. I mean, this season it just hasn't happened, has it? But it was a great day for Tottenham. So many, like both Joe and DJ have said, a lot of really superb performances. I mean, it was great to see Spence score. Great to see the reaction of the players around him. I think that's been a long time coming. I totally agree with the comments about Bergvall. I mean, in my opinion, like as well as his like positivity, like his energy was unbelievable. He was like still like on 80 minutes, he's still running around. Like it was such like he's a really like he's not only a baller, but he works his ass off. And the only other player, I don't want to monologue too much, the only other player I would really like to mention, in case someone else gets in ahead of me, my like coming up on the rails from what like my favorite player is Kevin Danso. He was unbelievable. I love that man. He's a monster, but he's a baller as well. He's got a little jinx and a little like step inside, and he what I really love about him, apart from that, there was one moment in the second half when he ran all the way up. I was tracking it. I was like, that's Danso. He's still running forwards, and it's like proper Romero sort of vibes. Really backing himself and believing that he's. There was one time when he should have shot and he went out for a throw in because he was trying to play a pass in. But like, I love that guy. I mean, it's a really encouraging couple of performances he's put in so far. So yeah, loads and loads of things we could talk about.
We'll get through the loads and loads of things. But I need to quickly shout out to our awesome members. So big up, Drew. Good to see you, mate. And I know we chat on WhatsApp on a daily basis anyway, but lovely to see you on our stream, my friend. Let us know if you have any questions today. Toby Mark's done. Good to see you. Who else have we got? We have the famous Phil Coleman. You're not a member, Phil, but you've been with us since the start, so you get a shout out. Reese, good to see you too, my friend. And Hisu, it was lovely to see you at the ground at the members meetup.
Yeah, great to see Hisu last week.
To see you. And did I say Toby Mark's done already? Whatever. There you go, Toby. You probably got 2 shout outs. And if you want to support our show, get on YouTube. $1.99 a month. You can be a member and keep the show alive and help us get amazing guests. I'm working on trying to get a football agent on next to talk about the inner workings. I tried to get CAA base on, but they were scheduled to say yes. I was meant to record them today, and the last minute they bottled it because apparently their employees aren't allowed to come on and talk about what they do behind the scenes. That was a big shame. I'll find someone else. Anyway, Joe, you took some notes. You said anything in particular? You like if we work from the chronological part of the game, right? Yeah. I mean, the first 10 seconds, I thought we were going to go 1-0 down. I thought, God, here we go.
Yeah. It was one of those ones where it's their home game. They came out with so much intensity. I felt like we just had to weather the storm. I said that in the WhatsApp group. We just had to weather that first 10 minutes. And once we did, then it became our game. But they were pretty intense. But why not? I think what teams are trying to do to us at the moment is match our intensity at the start, especially, and hopefully that we make a mistake because we're such high risk, high reward style of play that if they do get a turnover, and we've shown that we aren't that great when we go down early in the game, but we weathered the storm and then turned it around over 10 minutes. So is that the first 10 minutes completed, or does anyone else want to mention on that?
Anything else you want to add on that?
I think the first 10 minutes are probably 10 minutes best left to history, with the exception of I think Udogie had a pretty good run in like the 3rd minute or something.
Oh, we did.
That's true. So it was good to see him back. I'm glad he's getting minutes in his legs, and I am very pleased with the starting of Udogie and Spence as our wing backs. I thought that it
definitely
looked about as good as you would have hoped it would. Yeah, definitely.
So powerful, those
defense is-
two.
I know. And
Yeah.
Defense
And
is
it's-
just so good. We'll talk about it more later, but he's so good.
And even though Kinski was a fantastic signing, we got a wonderful deputy keeper. I really felt the mature. You can feel the experience of Vicario shining through in games like that. And I did. It was nice to see him back. Oh, and Sean the Gooner Slayer. Thank you, my
legend.
friend.
Back
Thank
again.
you.
Survived the party.
Survived the party. Birthday party done and a great win. Wait, it's your birthday today, Sean? Is that right?
Oh, it was his kid's birthday party,
Kids'
wasn't it?
birthday party.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday to the wee one
Yeah.
from us. I doubt they'll care, but happy birthday to them anyway. Yeah, so I agree. I thought that was that run from a doggy, wasn't it? When the ball looked like it was a millimeter from going off, and he just chipped it in with a really nice little silky, like kind of tap foot. I don't know what you call that kind of move in football, but anyway, and the blistering pace went forward. Yeah, and then we move forward into the game, and we go to the player obviously that gets a lot of stick, and Brennan Johnson. That apparently all he does is score goals, so it doesn't count. It doesn't really make sense to
How
me.
many goals does he have to score for him to get a break?
At least
seriously.
one more, I think, is the
At least one
answer
more
if you ask
always,
anybody on Twitter or
Yeah.
X, whatever. Now I'm calling it Twitter.
Yeah. Like if he gets, because he must, when you take out the injury time he's missed, per game, per goal ratio, must be up there with Salah, which is madness, right? I'm paraphrasing though. You guys might actually go and do the digging, but his goal to minutes ratio is insane. And don't you need a few players like that? Because we've kind of got the opposite in other players where you've got brilliant players like Kulusevski who don't contribute output-wise in goals massively, but they contribute hugely in other ways. And you need a balance in your squad, right? Of other ones who maybe don't contribute as much as him in those areas, but can, contribute just by scoring the goals that ultimately win you the games. Otherwise, you just end up dominating games and being like, we should have won, but we didn't win over and over and over again. But to answer your question, I think surely 15 goals shuts everyone up. And he's on what, 12 now? 13? 12, 13. So, yeah, up there. Take that, Brennan haters. And then he goes and gets a second and does it again. And, but anyway, how do you guys think Matisse Tell looked up front today?
Before we move on from the first goal, and I also want to shout out another weirdly, in my opinion, maligned player. Brennan Johnson scored the goal, but 99.9% of that work was done by Son, absolutely destroying the entire left side of
and Gray's pass.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Son,
Two of them.
Gray and Son, Gray isn't maligned though, so we don't have to worry about him. Everyone knows he's good. For some reason, we've got this idea that the Son is like incapable of dribbling a football. And I think that especially that goal, the second goal he also set up, but I think it was I think this goal really was. I think that this goal was the better of the two from Son.
I think what Son showed is he is capable of dribbling and playing really well. He's just not capable of playing 90 minutes 2 to 3 times a week and being expected to dribble really well in all those games consecutively. But when he's got rotation options to give him a rest, he's brilliant still, and he's got plenty left on those legs. And hey, Adam, good to see you, my friend. And I quite agree. We're going to get to the striker bit in a bit, because I think every game I watch just without Solanke, I think there's a big Solanke-shaped hole at the top of the pitch, even though whoever deputizes him is working very hard. And thank you so much, Drew, for gifting 5 memberships. Legend.
What a man.
So you'll get the like exclusive member vids now, which are our pre-game prediction videos and build up. That's just for members. And we also give you a daily little short as well of me walking my dog. Don't know if you actually want that or not, but you're going to get it. And thank you very much, Drew. And big up, Sean. Good to see you, my friend. So, yes, guys, where were we going with that? We were on Sonny, and now we're moving up the pitch to Tell.
Sorry, I'm just gonna
Go on, Sonny.
just a sliver on Sonny that has it because I think one of the things we've seen people have talked about the mental exhaustion a lot, and I think that a player who's got the experience that he has, he just hasn't been at it in terms of his sort of confidence. for so many of the last few months, and I think that was the difference today as well, wasn't it? Like that first half, he was really looking to beat men with the belief that he was going to do it, and both of those assists, and there was another one not too long after the second goal when he took on a shot, and it's nice to see a little bit more of that, and it's what you've kind of been saying for a long time, Jim, in terms of like realizing he can still make a big difference, but being realistic about like the minutes the impact he can make, and the minutes that kind of go with that. But when you've got Odegaard coming back, Tell is an interesting one, because I know you could keep trying to get us on to talking about him, because he is obviously this when he moved across. The chat is that he's a striker, right? That he wants to be recognized as a striker, and I guess it's too early, I would say, to be honest with you. I think like for somebody who's only played a couple of games in the country, a new league, he's still very young. It's really, really harsh to be like being too critical, in my opinion. What I really like about him, and he's doing in every single appearance, every minute of every appearance, is work rate, his determination. Also, like he seems to be he seems to be in tune with what the manager wants him to do, and I like there are good vibes there, and he's obviously a good player. I mean, what he's achieved so far at such an early age, he's obviously got ability, but let's not be too harsh on him. He didn't really have any massive opportunities for scoring today.
No.
But he's putting defenders under a lot of pressure, and he's working with the other forwards and midfielders to make a difference. Certainly, no offense, but he's making a bigger difference on the pitch than Timo Werner would be.
He certainly was. Who, by the way, was in full training. Interesting, he wasn't on the bench today, was he?
Scoring goals and training too, if you saw that video.
Oh, I didn't see that. No. But just quickly on that, and Johnny, I think if anyone wants to like criticize these 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 17-year-old players in the Premier League, go on your old Facebook profile, or if that existed when you were 19, and scroll back until you were 19. Then look at the prat you probably were back then and think, right, that person has played for Bayern Munich and is now playing at Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League. And look at the physique they are in, and what they're doing in their life. Think how much you changed over those next 3 or 4 years preceding that moment, and that's still a human being who's probably going to do the same. But anyway, and Sean, thank you so much, my friend. Bentancur Majestic.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Should we jump on to Bentancur a bit there, guys? We're getting a bit all over the place, but I thought when I first saw that attempt on goal, I thought he should have scored. But a game, I thought he did 80% of the things right, but 20% of things he did make some mistakes in the game. Joe, you were not in there. Anything?
Yeah, there's a couple of sloppy moments, I think, and I think it sort of sums up what goes wrong for us this year is in sloppy moments. There was a pass that he tried to sort of flick into someone's pass in the midfield, and it seemed lazy, the pass. But there were the small moments. The rest of the time, I thought he was great again as well. It's just we need to sort of get to that point where those sloppy moments are few and far between. But I did think he was good, and I thought Sean's right there. He was fantastic in the midfield today. I think all of the guys in the midfield, actually, there's a lot of rotation, especially early on in the midfield. Kulusevski was dropping very deep early on as well. So, I think he was fairly good. But as I said, a couple of sloppy mistakes, but they're human beings.
Yeah. And like once again, it's one of those things where like those mistakes kind of go down with familiarity with a set squad. And while I did already praise the merits of rotation, it's hard to get the like if the players aren't even in training, it's hard to gain that acumen. And if you haven't, so I think that again, that's something that'll come with time. Maybe not with Bentancur specifically, but with the players around him to help. Because like it's like we've talked about before. Like we know that Pedro Porro will be the last man on the defender's back line 80% of the time, whether or not we have the ball. So it's up to our players to know that and be able to adapt how they play around him. So I think it's just something like that. Like if the more you play with Bentancur, the more you get to learn both his strengths, of which he has a lot, and his weaknesses, which I think that there aren't as many as most, I would say, midfielders in the Premier League right now. But you get to learn what those weaknesses are and learn to play around them better to mitigate the harm from those mistakes.
And just a quick pause, I got to say hi to some of our members once again. So Mahesh, thank you very much. You leave great analytical comments. So I don't always respond to them. I just normally have like a screaming child in one ear, and I'm trying to read a very well thought out post by you with lots of information. But interesting, Spurs turn over the ball 19 times in their own 60 meters to Ipswich's 9. Interesting. Yeah, worth keeping an eye on there then. But that's part of the way we play, right? It's a lot of it is about high intent. And if you watch Joe's video he did on our channel, go back, and it's about Ange Ball debunked, and he covers a lot of these topics on there. So I won't ramble on. I'll let you watch that. It's brilliant. It's got over 10,000 views now. I think it's doing really well. So check that out. And Boomerash. I'm going to pronounce it Boomerash, not the way I think it's pronounced, just in case this video gets blocked.
It's a great name.
Best fan channel. Love the balance content. Thank you so much for your donation, mate. It does help keep us going. We don't have any sponsors or anything like that. We don't do that at the moment. So thank you very much. Really do appreciate it. People like Joe are getting up at 4:30 in the morning, and Johnny flies over every week, and Deej gets up at silly o'clock about the goodness of his heart to bring this content. So thank you very much. So yeah, what about the rest of the midfield that goes? I thought Bentancur was solid with a couple of mistakes, but Kulusevski's game, there was a lot of kind of dispute over whether it should have been him and Maddison starting, but I thought he was he looked tired, but he worked hard like he always does, and definitely added some value, didn't he? And he topped off with a goal. So.
It's funny because obviously, like the way the game got stretched, and once we got the third goal, it was the result was pretty much secure. And you've kind of got this sort of dichotomy of the first half and the second half, and
series.
What the boys have been saying before about Bentancur being a little bit sloppy. Doggy was pretty rusty. Obviously, just coming back from injury, and then he got the sort of opposite of that with Kulusevski having played so many minutes. I thought in the first half, I was surprised he started. I wouldn't have started him, but obviously I'm not there in pitch and training pitch, and I'm not Ange Postecoglou. But I was surprised that he didn't start. I was surprised that he did start, and he thought he looked really tired in the first half, and I was kind of half expecting him to be subbed, but because I just didn't think he was on it at all in the first half. Then as the game opens up, like Kulusevski, another player who just gives everything, he when he had a bit more space and a bit more time, he was able to make a much more positive impact. And obviously the fourth goal was trademark Kulusevski finish, wasn't it? Like, I mean, had so much space to run into there, but so he had the time to pick out that corner. But it was a beautiful goal, and it was lovely to see because he has been incredible this season. But it's just it was a funny one, and I guess it's the nerves with the form. Like, there were quite a long period of time in the middle of that game after they got their goal back. You're thinking, oh no, please not again. Like, you can just sort of read the script of, oh, we've blown a 2-goal lead and all this. And just think, oh, thank God it went the way it did in the end, because I thought we played pretty well for the majority of the game, and Kulusevski's obviously does so much to contribute to that control. He just doesn't give the ball away too cheaply whatsoever. So yeah, it's when you've got the context of the City game as well, isn't it? Like, think, well, Sonny's only gone off 10 minutes to play, which is a little bit surprising. I mean, Bergvall can probably play another 90 minutes this evening, but the rest that our players we did get some rest in, but you can only imagine Kulusevski's got to start against City, doesn't he? Because he is unquestionably top 3 midfield. So I don't know, that's going to be interesting. That's a conversation for another pod, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you were right with saying. I think he actually seemed better on the wing, but that was probably game state, where this year he's been better centrally. But to me, it looked like at the end of the game that he actually wanted to hurt one of the Ipswich players. There was the lap is an absolute menace. You see the moment where he threw Archie Gray to I think it was Archie Gray threw him to the ground,
in the corner,
or Bentancur maybe. But yeah, Kulu seemed like he wanted to get revenge, because in the last sort of 10 minutes, he was trying to leave something on everyone. But yeah, I thought he was better on the wing, but I think that you're right. I think that was game state rather than anything. It will be interesting against City to see if he goes with him in central with Maddison. Because obviously Maddison is trying to get game time back in his legs after being injured. And I feel like it would be a good idea to start him against City. So it'd be interesting to see what he does with that midfield.
He does those kind of games, doesn't he? The big games matters usually.
Yeah,
I think I saw before the game that he had picked up. He had that they were being a little bit cautious with him, and that's why he didn't start. In terms of I think they said that he may have re-aggravated a little bit of a knock. Had gotten a little bit of a knock against United, and why risk him for a game like this?
Yeah.
You can always bring him on later.
Yeah, a few of them had knocks. Apparently Davies should be back as well. But I find it funny you do see, and I don't want to get into this bit because it's kind of like pitting fans against each other, but I find the kind of commentary you get frustrating when it's like, oh, he's not starting, and you're like, well, he has a knock, so he's being rested. Oh, well, you've always got to play your best players, from the same people who are saying we need to rotate more and this manager causes too many injuries. And then the same thing for leaving Davies out. Well, he should still be on the bench. It's like, you can't. I don't think Ange can win on some of these, some of those topics. But anyway, it was great to see that even with 3 players suddenly not being quite fit, we still had a really good first 11. And let's not forget, City have play Liverpool tomorrow, right? It's a big advantage for us that we get an extra day's rest. True. They've got that game, and they've just come off the Champions League game at the Bernabeu where they couldn't afford to rest any of their key players because they had a chance of turning it around at that point.
Still got smacked anyway.
And they still got smacked. It is the last good time to play City this season before they start getting week breaks between their games, and rumours Rodri's not that far away from returning and coming back early. So look, if we pull that off, I think this is the first time we've won back-to-back league games when we won last weekend this season, let alone 3. To go and do 4 surely highlights something to do with the correlation of, oh wow, when players come back, Tottenham are actually pretty good. When they've got the squad depth, they are very good. And we're doing all this without a striker. And I do kind of want to touch a bit on Solanke because I do feel going to all these games, I just feel with him, we would be putting these games to bed a little bit sooner. We'd be looking a little bit stronger in the box.
Oh, definitely.
And we'd be a little bit less losing the ball less in the final third as well. So I think the whole cohesion of the team would just level up once again, which is really exciting considering we're still doing okay without him, isn't it?
He just does everything well. Because even just when you spoke to JJ about the Aston Villa game and talking about Marky Moore's angles that he was running early on in the game, Solanke's amazing at that. Even just the simple things like how he puts the pressure on, how he holds the ball up, how he pushes the defensive line back so there's space behind him. I thought Tal did that actually fairly well today. There was space between the lines for players to pop up in, but that was sort of where he did well, and the other things he was let down, and where Solanke does all the things well. Probably could score a few more goals, but it will be so much better. We would have been so much more comfortable in that game, I think, if we had him playing.
Yeah. And in Tel's defense, I think you could see in both of our first 2 goals that once again the Ipswich strategy, much like United's last week, was to basically block up the middle at all costs, because you could see how much space Son was in for both of the balls that he got released over. Like, you just simply you cannot leave like that much space for a winger in the Premier League, no matter who it is. Like, they will put the worst winger in the Prem you can think of. I'm not going to say any names, but some people might be thinking a name, and if you are, that's okay. Put the worst winger in the Premier League in that much space, and you're going to get a dangerous chance out of it. But because you could see they were leaving those wings open, so that means that those players had to be somewhere. And if you go back and watch the build up to the goals, it's because everyone is huddled together. Everyone is cluttering up that back line to make that back middle section of the pitch really compact. And so I think that once again, it's hard. It's really hard to be a striker against a team like Ipswich, where they're not necessarily pushing out all that much. They're more focused on keeping you from scoring. But I do think again today, while I'm being trying to give him not the benefit of the doubt, but I'm being charitable to him. I do think this is another game that shows that I think he's probably best suited as a winger. But I think a lot of the even Scarlett had a couple moments after he came on where he, I think, used his body better, and obviously had the assist for the goal. But like that kind of like physicality is something that I just don't see until yet. Obviously, not something he can't develop, but until he does, I think that just it'll be really hard for him to really get a foothold in any game, uh, where he's not like where he's going up against a team with like such a physical backline, like most teams in the Premier League do today.
Yeah. And I just want to, as there's a lot of messages coming on that Paul Merson's having a meltdown on Sky Sports because they can't comprehend.
Love it.
This clueless manager can't win games. It's not supposed to happen. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's naive. He can't. How's he figured it out?
Lego head out.
Something's wrong with the brilliant Arsenal lost. How does this happen? Just think.
To be fair to Arsenal, they've got injuries, so.
Oh yeah,
Exactly, an injury crisis.
Yeah. He literally is talking about their injury crisis right now on Sky, apparently, which is just hilarious that ours didn't count because you just got to win. You got to find a way of winning, even without 12 players. You got to find a way of winning. That's find a way. What does that mean? Oh, it's not my job. You just called him an idiot. So surely you're smarter than him. So you must know the answer. No. But just think of the Gooners weekend, right? How beautiful is it?
Oh, it's magic. It's magic. I'm looking forward to going back to work now. And the United as well. Like, I mean, United are the gift that keep on giving. There's so many Man United fans over in this part of the world. There's a lot of comments in there about the penalty that wasn't, and the referee and stuff. I think Soul Sniper was first off the mark with that, and I had that down here as well. It's like about 63 minutes, and I just don't understand. Like, I mean, I know you can use your strength, and I know you can use your shoulder, but like that was a body check that Dara O'Shea put in on Danso. It's nuts. I don't understand how that's not a penalty because he was just not going to win the ball. So to me, there was a sort of frenetic period when it was still 2-1. And the referee was just letting everything that go. It went for both teams that I definitely think, with my goggles on, that we were worst off in terms of some of there was one on Kulusevski that it was just before I think Kulusevski did a revenge attack. I don't know if it's the same one Joe's talking about, but and then the ref did blow for them when Deki got involved, but. There was a little sort of 10-minute period in the middle of the second half when the referee just seemed to be allergic to his whistle, and it was nuts. And like the whole Danso penalty that wasn't sort of seemed to spark that off. And I don't know if one of you guys who's more acquainted with the rule book can tell me why that wasn't a penalty, because I was watching the Man United Everton game earlier, and Everton, somewhat controversially possibly, had a penalty awarded in injury time to potentially win the game, and then it was reviewed against, and the referee changed his mind, and there was nothing in that compared to what the dancer was, in my opinion. So anyway, I don't know if Joe or Deej can.
I don't know. I actually felt when that happened, I wasn't too convinced it was a penalty. I thought my first thought was that that's a very risky thing to do for Moshe. But I'm not that convinced that I'm right about it. So I don't really want to say, like, plant my flag in the ground on it. But the referee was terrible. I wrote this down here. There was a moment down the wing early in the second half, 58 minute, where a doggy won the ball down in the corner. They got a free kick. 1 minute later, we're breaking. Brennan goes down. They don't really show the replay, but nothing happens. And then 1 minute later, they get another free kick that wasn't a free kick again. I think, who was it? I think it was a doggy that time. I know Gray won the first one and then a doggy the second time. And it was just so inconsistent across the board. It was sometimes you let the refs play the ball, let the game play, and let these sort of hard tackles go. But it has to be consistent throughout the game. You have to pick one or choose one. You can't give away soft free kicks and then not give away. So that's what was frustrating. It's just inconsistency. It wasn't, I don't think, like every team, there's no sort of conspiracy against us, but it was just poor refereeing. And it's consistent through the Premier League. It's just poor refereeing.
And I think one of the consequences of that sort of unruliness as well was, which slightly scared me because it was still 2-1 at that point, was when you're watching, because Portman Road is quite a tight ground. It's a ground I've actually been to. It's proper old-fashioned ground, and you've got the Ipswich faithful, the tractor boys there, absolutely baying for anything. Anytime like the ref blew in our favor, they were going completely ape, and it's like it felt a bit like the Colosseum. Like there was this atmosphere building, and until we got the third goal, it's like, oh, our lads were under a lot of pressure there, and it's another testimony, in my opinion, to actually the maturity or the belief that Tottenham were able to sort of get through that, because at the point when we got our third goal, you could argue that Ipswich were. I'm not saying they're the better team, because I don't think they were, but it sort of felt like the game was maybe swinging without they were going to have an opportunity, because they did have a goal that was disallowed, didn't they? I mean, there was about 4 of them offside, but you thought, oh, okay,
you felt like the script was coming, didn't you? You're like,
yeah.
I was about to just jump on my floor and just lie face down, and just like kind of, because when that goal went in, I literally did. I just got on the floor and lay face down. I just went, no, I was so confident with these players coming back. Today's the kind of games where we find enough to see them through, and I'm wrong, no, and then it will change.
Yeah.
Sorry, Karen, Johnny.
Ironically, sorry to jump in a little bit.
No.
I think today is like we did to Ipswich what a lot of teams that really did to us during our injury crisis, where we come out. I mean, stop me if you've heard this one before. A team comes out fast out of the breaks, maybe gets a goal, slower end of the first half, has a really, really strong start to the second half, but then runs out of gas at the 70th, 80th minute. Like that was the story of our season. Yeah. So it's not just us. And I mean, you could see how like I'm not going to lie and say I wasn't worried at all. I think that anyone who's watched Tottenham for any amount of time knows that you should always be worried, no matter what. I was a little bit worried when we were 4-1 up in the 98th minute. But I think that, I think that we definitely had enough about us to control the match, even if we weren't necessarily the ones creating all of the chances in the first part of the second. And then once we got the third goal, it was you could just see all of the confidence drained out of them, and we kind of,
and it was beautiful.
They just rolled over and let us get a fourth, which it's always nice to score another goal.
And it was beautiful.
It was.
Yeah, and so hopefully for the City game then, guys, we'll quickly look forward to that a little bit. I've got to go soon, because I've got to go to a party with the theme that is Old Hollywood, and I have no idea what I'm going to wear to that. Not the type of thing you should probably leave to sort out an hour before you leave. But anyway, City, we should have back Davies. Dare we dream of Romero or Van der Ven on the bench? Maybe.
I have no idea. Honestly, I'd probably rather not. It's fun to win games in the league, but there's one thing that will define the success of our season, I think.
100%.
And
at this point, and that's the Europa League. So I would probably do everything I can to save the players that I think are important for that.
On that City game too, I kind of feel like it's because we've won 3 in a row now. Obviously, want to win that game, but I don't think it has to be the be all and end all for this game for us to win this one. Yeah. Just who it is, even though they're not having as good a season as they normally have, they're still one of the best teams.
They're still fifth, yeah.
You can't just talk down to them just because they're not running away with it like they normally do. And it'd be great to win, and I think we still can win it. We are their bogey team, but I don't think it means that this game meant more, I think, in terms of our season than that game will.
Here's a stat for you guys. We are the only team in the league to win our last 3 games. We are the only team in the league to win our last 3 games. We've gone from not being able to win a back-to-back league game to being the only team to win the last 3 on the bounce. So could we? I mean,
so if we win against City, if we did win against City, does that mean we've won all our league games in February?
I think so, yeah. So cue the manager a month award. Oh wait, Villa are
Yeah, I
losing
was
1-0 as
thinking that.
well right now.
Are losing.
I want to
Yes.
talk about Villa actually.
Go
Why
on.
do they get a? Is this because they did well in the Champions League that they're two places ahead of us, but everyone sort of is.
So
Oh,
true.
Villa are amazing, Villa, and then I don't
6
understand.
points ahead.
It just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me.
Villa are just
Yeah.
doing the reverse us. We just did our losing earlier in the season.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
They were up there. So like you look at their league position, you're like, oh, they're like fourth, they're third, they're fifth, they're sixth. That's where they should be. And now
Yeah.
they're I mean, they're experiencing the effects of a long season. Like they have not been good in 2025, I don't think.
Yeah.
They they beat us in the FA Cup, and that's probably their best result since I don't know, drawing to
It's-
Arsenal or Liverpool. Like
It's also entirely plausible that because our next 2 games are home games, there's probably like a 50% chance we could win both of those.
Mm.
And then suddenly you're 4 point and looking at the teams above us in the points, that it's likely we're within 5 points of 5th with 10 games to go. Like it's amazing how despite that really bad patch, that the idea of fighting for that 5th Champions League spot is actually something you could even comprehend talking. I know it's a very outside chance, but only 2 weeks ago I was saying we're in a relegation fight. Like until we win a few games, we are still in a relegation fight. And now we suddenly 3 games later talking about the possibility we could actually knock on the door of the Champions League 5th spot if we get it. It could be 6 spots as well. So yeah, watch the space.
Yeah, it matters how you finish, doesn't it? Doesn't matter what happens. It's one random snapshot in the year where anyone could be anywhere. It matters how you finish the season. That's what counts. So
Bohemian Raishu, our defenders coming back. We'll need a couple of games to warm up. Yeah, agree. I think they'll probably come on for like 10-15 minute bits, a bit like we're seeing Odeberg come on for. It'll be 5 or 6 games until they're a starting game. Only me, you say, Soul Sniper.
Yeah.
Only me. Yeah, well.
You just remind me of some of the. I've got 2 boys in my class that support Chelsea, and at the start of the season, they're convinced that we're going to win the league, and like they're adorable. I call them Beavis and Butthead because they're just great crack. But
Because they support Chelsea.
they're completely delusional. They're just totally delusional, and it's fantastic. You were totally reading the same script as them. They're Jimbo talking about.
Okay, well, 6th is possible. 6th is possible.
Oh,
Bournemouth
okay.
are holding 6th spot right now.
Yeah.
Bournemouth are holding 6th.
they just lost to Wolves.
And they just lost to
10
Wolves.
points ahead of us.
Come on. You've got to
They're not gonna-
dream. What are their fixtures as well? What are their fixtures?
Start analyzing the run-in.
It's a very competitive league, though. That's why
it is
it's
a very
so up and
competitive
down.
league.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
You got to. It's all about. Isn't it all about going to bed and staring at the ceiling, and your wife's like, "What the hell is he thinking about?" And you're like, that Rain Man thing with the numbers like going around his head. You're just there, just like we could still win it. We could still win a lot. Like the point deduction for City.
Yeah.
Chelsea could get a point deduction.
Mathematically, we probably can.
Liverpool could lose Van Dijk. Can happen.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'm too giddy. I can't even find the Bournemouth fixtures. I could just Google Bournemouth fixtures, couldn't I? That's probably the way to go.
We've got 12 games left, so that's 36 points. That's us finishing with 69 points.
But they got Brighton away, then us.
Top 4. We know every game of the season. Yeah.
They got Brighton away, and us. If we win our next 2 and they lose to Brighton and we beat them, we win our next 2. Come on, it's on. 6th place is on. You're suddenly then within 4 points of Bournemouth with 10 games to go. You can't tell me that's not on. It's on. 6th is on.
It's on.
6th is on. 6th is on. It's on. Yes. Yeah. No one else is with me on that, are they?
No.
I
I'm just
don't
too
know.
scared to
Stranger
say it.
things have happened, but I don't think I don't know. Like I'm not pinning like I said, I'm pinning this season on exactly one thing.
You're right.
That is the Europa League. And I'm not even saying we need to win it, but I do think we need to make a good account of ourselves. I think we need to. I'm not going to lie and say we were given the most difficult draw in the world. I think we were given a pretty favorable draw considering the teams that were available. I think Lazio is like the only team on our half of the bracket that I potentially that I'm really, really worried about. I mean, obviously you've got names like a name like Ajax, but if you've been following Ajax for the past couple of seasons, you'll know that they've fallen off a bit. Not that they can't still win a game on their day, but they're nowhere near the powerhouse that met us in the Champions League semifinal in 2019. But yeah, I don't know. If we put ourselves in a position where we're fighting for even a European spot, man, like I would be ecstatic with the way that we turn the season around. And it would be I think it would be really, really good for the morale and the vibes or whatever going into the next season.
Yeah, I think that if that happens and things didn't go the way we dream in terms of the Europa League, then I hope that would be good enough outcome to keep the manager in his position for next season. And from my point of view, I don't know. I know it's a bit of a divisive topic, but that's something I am really, really desperately keen to see happen, because I just think another window and the players coming through, the young boys coming through, with the experience that they've gained, there's a lot to be excited about. We've been saying it along. I mean, like, there's comments in there about January are bang on, but like there is, when you look at the fixtures ahead and you're getting into sort of gym, a slightly tempered version of gym. I mean, there is still a lot to play for in the league, as you just said there, and I think that there isn't Liverpool away is the one game you just think, okay, forget it, right? I mean, I'm not saying on the day, you're not going to say that on the day of the match, right? But when you're looking through, we've got to go to Villa, but we've got a good record against Villa, and that's like miles away. That's anything could be the reality between. We could be ahead of Villa quite by then. We really could, because they're only 6 points.
Yeah, Johnny, drink the Kool-Aid. He's in. I got one.
Villa are 6 points ahead of us, and they're losing at the moment, which means they've played 27 games, and they're 6 points ahead, and we've played 26 games. So if we win our game in hand against Man City, then we're only 3 points behind them. That's it. You know, look, what have you done, Jim?
You want to dream a bit more? Look, Liverpool still got to juggle the Champions League. What have they just?
Exactly.
Arsenal dropping points.
That's beautiful.
Well, anything's possible. But I just wanted to, I do need to jump. I just want to kind of finish on the chronological day of an Arsenal fan, which is just beautiful. Can you imagine Liverpool dropping points and they're like, we win today. Well, there'll be 4 points off them now. We're back in it. Was it 6 points? We're back in it. We're back. And they all talk like that. But not apparently. Don't know where that voice came from.
Yeah, where's he from? Where's that Arsenal supporter from?
I don't know. Just Arsenal land, where they all just a bit still, where their main fan. Anyway, I can't go onto that. The video getting. There's a video they've got dancing around about a player who's accused of a certain thing, and it's still the front of their main fan YouTube page, which I find absolutely baffling. But anyway, they start the week finishing like that, and then they lose today, and they just grab their roast dinner full of gravy and Yorkshire puddings, and they just launch it at the wall. Whole weekend ruined. Fallouts with wives, divorces all over the place in North London. Absolutely brilliant. Sorry.
Well, you got like shares in the solicitors of North London. If you like,
it's through the roof.
Bring them on, baby.
Divorces and just chaos. Just dogs getting. I don't know. I'm just talking rubbish. I don't know. Just Arsenal fans really unhappy, and it's lovely.
Yeah, it is.
Any other final comments, guys?
By the way, Jim, you know my Carlsberg day. You didn't mention it. Inverness actually got a win as well, and it was an away win to Kelty Hearts. So
nice.
Yeah, we're pulling away. We're pulling away from the danger zone.
What a weekend!
Perfect. It is.
What a weekend for Johnny.
Dreamy. Yeah.
Just a quick shout. DJ and I and JJ, Coach JJ, have seen the videos. A licensed coach, got his qualification with Kieran McKenna, so knows his stuff. We're going to be doing a Jamie Donnelly special. So we're going to be diving into the player, how he plays, where he could fit in, where we think he's on his development path, whether we believe from a coach's perspective if he'll be in our squad next year, and if so, what his role would be. Joe and I are also working on a pretty cool video around the whole evolution of Tottenham since the 90s, like how football's changed, how Spurs have changed, the landscape's changed, the money's changed, how we've kept up, all that kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of false kind of narratives that go around, and we're just going to follow the data really, like, and figuring out like how big Spurs actually are based on the like tangible information, like the commercial size of a club, but also the trophies and all these things, and kind of come to a conclusion. Is that fair, Joe? Would you describe it differently?
No, that's just gonna everything about Spurs. No, it's gonna just the I'd say just the growth of the 90s, where we compare to teams around us from the 90s to now, to see have we gone forward compared to where most of the pack has gone. And if you want to watch that, which will be great, subscribe to the channel.
Absolutely. Yeah, I should say that more. We've tripled in size in 3 months. So let's keep it going. Keep subscribing. 120,000 views this month. Get in there. On YouTube, that is. I know a lot of you watching on X or Twitter right now. And then we will be doing the normal pod probably maybe Monday, Tuesday. We'll see how everyone's availability is. And we'll come out with some other stuff. And you should check out the interview Johnny set up with Mason Melia's actual coach, which was really cool. So we got an insight into the player through that. It's on the YouTube channel as well. So yeah. Anyway, up the Spurs, everyone. Roll on your wonderful Sundays. What a way to end.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, and follow Joe on Twitter. He's put it up there at Joe.
New one, brand new. Started it this morning.
At Joe So Spurs. So what was it? I'll put in it at Joe So Spurs.
That's a good
Johnny and Deej, you need to plug yours more as well. You don't do it enough. And then you can follow me. I think mine's Jim Oso Spurs or something. So that makes sense. Anyway,
none of ours are going to work like Joe's.
I'm intimidated by Joe's brain coming up with that handle. Well, that's good.
This is the easiest thing that you could possibly.
Well done, mate.
It is so good. It's so good. Yeah. Right, up the Spurs, everyone. Roll on Sunday.
Come on, you Spurs.